poem and memorize it. They've got 2.5 to 5 minutes for it. They're graded on four judges that are graded on three categories. The first being what we call mastery score, so that's like the top comments. Is how they master the speech, so are there any awkward pauses that hit their place, things like this. The second category is technical delivery, so adequate volume, articulation, that they observe the time, that they have appropriate speed, etc., things like that. And then the third category is just the overall effect that they have on the speech. They don't necessarily have to give the speech as the person themselves, as the history figure itself might have given the speech, but it's just the overall effect that they have. So what we'll do here is we'll let the assumption guys choose first. Order of fix one on that. So the test will mention, we'll start off by saying what his speech is and his history figure history he gave. So.
You know that I am descended from those Christian emperors of the noble German nation, from the Catholic kings of Spain, from the archdukes of Austria, from the dukes of Burgundy, all of whom have been sons of the Roman Church, faithful to the death. They had always been defenders of the Catholic faith, of its sacred ceremonies, customs, and decrees. Congregation of faith, the salvation of souls, their honor of God. Since their death, they have left to us, by natural law and heritage, those said sacred observances in order to live and die by their example. And we have lived as true imitators of those of our successors, by the grace of God, up to now. For this just reason, I am determined to hold to all what my aforesaid ancestors and I myself have held to up to the present, and especially what was held by my aforesaid ancestors at the Council of Constance, and as well as at other councils. For it is certain that one lone friar errs in his opinion, which contradicts all Christendom as much in the past 1,000 years, and even longer as it does in the present. According to that opinion, all said Christendom would be and would always have been in error. Wherefore, I am utterly determined in this matter to employ my realms and lordships, my friends, my body, my blood, my life, and my soul. For it would be a great shame for me and for you, who are the noble and renowned nation of Germany, singled out by privilege and preeminence to serve as defenders and protectors of the Catholic Church, that in our time, not only heresy, but the suspicion of heresy, or the diminution of the Christian religion, should, due to our negligence, reside after us in the hearts of men, to our perpetual dishonor and that of our successors. Haven't you heard the obstinate reply that Luther gave yesterday in the presence of us all? I declare to you now that I regret having hesitated to proceed against the said Luther and his false doctrine. And I am determined not to listen to him any longer. But I attend that forthwith, according to the terms of the order, he be remanded. Though honoring the tenor of his safe conduct, without preaching or admonishing the people about his evil religion or inciting any confusion. And, as I said before, I am determined to conduct myself and proceed against him as against a notorious heretic. I ask you in this affair to declare yourselves as good Christians and hold to it. Do as you have promised.
I will be giving a speech that Alexander the Great gave to his army in India when they wanted to turn around and return home. What I am about to say to you is not meant to stop you from returning home. As far as I care, you can go wherever you wish. But I want you to know how you have behaved towards me and how I have treated you. I will begin, as is right, with my father, Philip. When he found you, you were mere peasants, wearing hides, tending a few sheep on the mountain slopes, and you could barely defend them from your neighbor. Under him, you began living in cities with good laws and customs, and he turned you from slaves into rulers over the very barbarians that used to plunder your lands. He conquered most of Thrace, taking the best ports, there was trade and prosperity, and putting the mines to steady work. The Thessalians, they used to terrify you. Well, we rule them now. The Athenians and Thebans always looking for a chance to attack Macedonia. We're so humbled, myself playing my small part in the war, that they no longer take tribute from Macedonia, but instead depend on us for their protection. My father went to the Peloponnese and put their house in order. Then he was declared supreme commander of all the Greeks for their campaign against the Persians, an honor not just for himself, but for all Macedonians. This is what my father Philip did for you. Great enough on its own, but small compared to what you have received from me. I crossed the Hellespont, even though back then the Persians still commanded the sea. I defeated the satraps of the great King Darius and made you rulers of Ionia, Aeolus, Phrygia, and Libya, and took Miletus by siege. The rest of the land surrendered willingly, and their wealth became yours. All the riches of Egypt and Cyrene, which I won without a fight, are yours now. Syria, Palestine, Babylonia, Mesopotamia, all belong to you. What have I held back for myself, apart from this purple cloak and diadem? Nothing! No man can point to my riches, only that which I hold in trust for you all. And what would I do with them anyway? I eat what you eat. I get no more rest than you do. Many times I have spent the night on watch, so that you can sleep soundly. harder for me than I have for him. Come on. You've got scars. Strip and show them me. I'll show you mine. Each wound, as you see, is in the front. Let that man stand forth from your ranks, who has bled more than I have for you, or who has endured more than I have for your sake. And yet, here I still am, leading you as the conqueror of land and seas, rivers, mountains, and the plains. Many of you wear golden crowns, badges of honor and courage given to you by me. Any one of us who was killed, who met a glorious end, we bury you with full arms. Many now stand immortalized by bronze statues in Macedonia. Their families are honored and pay no taxes. Under my command, not one man has been killed while fleeing the enemy. And now I wanted to send some of you back home who are wounded or crippled or grown old, to be welcomed back home as heroes. But since all of you wish to go, then all of you, go home and tell them that your king, Alexander, the conqueror of the Persians, Medes, Bactrians, and Scythians, who marched over the mountains of the Hindu Kush, crossed the Oxus and Dionysus rivers, even the Indus, the first to cross it since Dionysus himself. I would have crossed the Hyphasis too, if you hadn't cowered in fear. Who sailed into the great sea from the mouth of the Indus, crossed the desert of Gambrosia, where no one had ever led an army. When you get home, you tell them that when you made it back to Susa, you abandoned him, leaving him under the protection of the foreigners you had conquered. Perhaps this report of yours will seem glorious in the eyes of men, and worthy in the eyes of the gods. Be gone!
I will be giving the speech that General George Patton gave to the U.S. Army in England before the invasion of Normandy. Men, this stuff some sources sling around about America wanting to stay out of the war and not wanting to fight is a lot of bull. Americans love to fight traditionally. All real Americans love the sting and the clash of battle. America loves a winner. America will not tolerate a loser. Americans despise a coward. Americans play to win. That is why America never has lost and never will lose a war. You are not all going to die. Only 2% of you, right here today, will be killed in a major battle. Death must not be feared. Death, in time, comes to all of us, and every man is scared in his first action. If he says he's not, he's a damn liar. Some men are cowards, yes, but they fight just the same, or they get the hell slammed out of them. The real hero is the man who fights, even though he's scared. Some men get over their fright in a minute under fire. Others take an hour. For some, it takes days, but the real man will never let his fear of death overcome his honor and his sense of duty to his country and to his manhood. All through your army careers, you've been complaining about what you call chicken crap drills. That, like everything else in the army, has a definite purpose. That purpose is instant obedience to orders and to create and maintain constant alertness. This he expects to stay alive. If not, some German son of a gun will stick him behind him with a sock full of crap. There are 400 neatly marked graves somewhere in Sicily. All because one man went to sleep at his job. But they are German graves because we caught them asleep. An army is a team. Lives, fights, sleeps, and eats as a team. This individual hero stuff is a lot of bull crap. Every single man in the army plays a vital role. Every man has his job and must do it. What if every truck driver decided he didn't like the line of a shell overhead, turned yellow, and jumped headlong into a ditch? What if every man thought, they won't miss me, just one in millions? Where in hell would we be now? Where would our country, our loved ones, our homes, even the world be? No. Thank God Americans don't think like that. Every man does his job and serves the whole. Ordnance men supply and maintain the guns and vast machinery of this war to keep us rolling. Quartermasters supply us with food and clothing. For where we're going, there isn't a hell of a lot to steal. Every last man on KP does his job. Even the guy who boils water to keep us from getting the GI squirts. Now remember, men, you don't know I'm here. No mention of that is supposed to be made in any letter. The USA is supposed to be wondering what the hell has happened to me. I'm not supposed to be commanding this army. I'm not even supposed to be in England. Let the first ones to find out be the damn Germans. I want them to look up and howl, ah, it's that damn Third Army and that son of a gun back again. Now we want to get this thing over with, get the hell out of here, and get at those purple pissing Japs. The shortest road home is through Berlin and Tokyo. We'll win this war, but we'll win it only by showing the enemy that we have more guts than they have or ever will have. There's one great thing that you men can say when this is all over and you're home once more. You can thank God that 20 years from now, when you're sitting around the fireside with your grandson on your knee, and he asks you what you did in the war, you won't have to shift him over to the other knee, cough, and say, I shoveled manure in Louisiana.
He was searching for you and saw me.
I will be giving Patrick Henry's speech to Congress, imploring them to deploy some type of army against the English. This is almost after the Stamp Act, which really fired up Patrick Henry, and this is what he said from Congress. I have one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. And I know of no way of knowing the future but by the past. And judging by the past, I wish to know what has been in the conduct of the British ministry for the past 10 years to justify those hopes with which these gentlemen have been so pleased to solace themselves in the House. Is it that insidious smile with which our petition has lately been received? Trust it not, sir. It'll prove a snare at your feet. Suffer yourselves not to be betrayed by a kiss. Ask yourselves how this gracious reception of our petition comports with those warlike preparations which cover our waters and darkens our land. Are fleets and armies necessary to an act of love and reconciliation? Have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled that force must be called to win back our love? Let us not deceive ourselves, sir. These are implements of war and subjugation, the last arguments to which kings resort. I ask, gentlemen, sir, what means this martial array if it is not to force us into submission? Can gentlemen assign any other possible motive? Has Great Britain any enemy in this quarter of the world to call for such accumulations of armies and navies? No, sir, she has none. They are meant for us. They can be meant for no other. They are meant to bind and rivet upon us those chains which the ministry has so long been forging. And what have we to oppose them? Shall we try arguments? Sir, we have been trying that for the last 10 years. Have we anything new to offer upon the subject? Nothing. We have held it up in every light which is capable, but it has been in vain. What then? Shall we resort to treaty and humble supplication? What terms shall we find ourselves in which have not already been exhausted? I beseech you, sir, let us not deceive ourselves. We have done everything we can to avert the storm which is coming on us now. We have petitioned, we have remonstrated, we have supplicated, we have prostrated before the throne and implored its interposition to arrest the tyrannical hands of the ministry and parliament. But our petitions have been slighted, our remonstrances have caused further violence and insult, and our supplications have been disregarded. We have been spurred with contempt from the foot of the throne. And after this in vain do we indulge in such fond hope of peace and reconciliation? It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war has already begun. The next wave, which comes down from the north, will bring to our ears the resounding clash of arms. Our brethren are already out in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is that the gentlemen wish? What would they want? Is life so dear and peace so sweet to be bought at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it. Almighty God, I know not what courses others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death.
My speech is called Dream of the Rude. It was written by an anonymous 8th century Anglo-Saxon poet, and it is about one of the most greatest relics of Catholicism. Listen, I will speak of the sweetest dream which came to me in the middle of the night. It seemed that I saw a most wondrous tree, raised on high, wound round with light. All that beacon was covered in gold, gems stood fair at its corners, and there were 5 upon the crossbeam. All the angels of the Lord looked on, fair through all eternity. That was no felon's gallows, but holy spirits beheld there, men over the earth and all this glorious creation. Wondrous was the victory tree, and I was stained by sins, wounded with guilt. I saw the tree bearing honor and gladness, shining with joys, bedecked with gold. And yet beneath that gold, I began to see an ancient, wretched struggle when it first began to bleed on the right side. I was all beset with sorrow, fearful for that fair vision. I saw that eager beacon change garments and colors. Now it was drenched, stained with blood, now bedecked with treasure. And yet lying there a long while, I beheld in sorrow the Savior's tree, until that vestal lips began to speak words. It was so long ago, I remember, that I was felled from the forest's edge, ripped up from my roots. Strong enemies seized me there, made me their spectacle, made me bury their criminals. They bore me on their shoulders, and they set me on them. Then I saw the Lord of mankind, hasting eagerly, and he wanted to ascend upon me. I dare not bow down against the Lord's word, when I saw the ends of the earth tremble. When the young hero made ready, that was God Almighty, strong and resolute, he ascended on the high gallows. I trembled when he embraced me, yet I dared not bow to the ground. I was reared up as a cross. I raised up the mighty King, the Lord of heaven. I dare not lie down. They drove dark nails through me. The scars are still visible, open wounds of hate. I dare not hurt any of them. They mocked us both together. I was all stained with blood, flowing from that man's side after he sent forth his spirit. Much have I endured on that hill of hostile fates. I saw the God of hosts truly stretched out. Shadows spread gray over the clouds. All creation wept, mourned the King's fall, Christ on the cross. And yet, from afar, men came hastening to that living one. There they took Almighty God, lifted him from his heavy throne. The warriors then left me standing, drenched in blood. They laid him down, well weary, and stood by his body's head. They began to build a tomb for him in the sight of the slave. They carved it from bright stone and set within the word of victories. It had felled us all to the ground, a terrible pit. They dug for us a deep pit. Yet the Lord's thane's friends found me there, adorning me with gold and silver. Now you can hear, my beloved hero, that I have endured the work of evildoers, of harsh sorrows. Now the time has come that far and wide they will honor me, men over the earth and all this glorious creation, and pray to the Son. On me, the Son of God, suffered for some time. And so glorious now, I rise up under the heavens, and am able to heal each who is in awe. Now I bid you, my beloved hero, that you reveal this vision to them. Tell them in words that is the tree of glory on which Almighty God suffered for mankind's many sins and Adam's ancient deeds. Death is there. But the Lord rose again with his great might to help mankind. He ascended into heaven. He will come again to this middle earth to seek mankind on doomsday. May the Lord be my friend, he who on this earth once suffered on the hanging tree for human sin. He who ransomed us and gave us life, a heavenly home. Hope was renewed with cheer and bliss for those who were burning there. The Son was successful in that journey, mighty and victorious, when he came with the multitude, a great host of souls, into God's kingdom, his rightful home. Amen.
I will be reciting an excerpt from A Time for Choosing by Ronald Reagan. Alexander Hamilton said, "A nation which can prefer disgrace to danger is prepared for a massacre and deserves one." Now, let's set the record straight. There is no argument over the choice between peace and war, and there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace. You can have it in the next second. Surrender. Admittedly, there is a risk in any course we follow other than this. But the greater risk lies in appeasement. And that is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face. That their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it leaves no choice between peace and war, only between fight and surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be, he has told them that we are retreating under the pressure of the Cold War. And when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary. Because by that time, we will have been ruined from within, spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because he's heard voices from our side pleading for peace at any price, or better, red than dead, or, as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I both know life, and do not believe life so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains of slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused to cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shots around the world? The martyrs of history were not fools, and the honored dead who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. If you and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance, then this is the meaning in Barry Goldwater's Peace Through Strength. Winston Churchill said, "The destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals." And he said, there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space. And whether we like it or not, it spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope for man on earth, or we'll sentence them into 1,000 years of darkness.
For memorizing those speeches and giving us the pleasure of listening to them. Obviously, as I'm sure had an assumption, there were many boys here at Salette that came out for the speeches. Obviously, one came out for some. So I want to thank them all, not just the 6 that did it today, but anybody that tried. Obviously, it adds to the whole academic endeavors that we try to achieve in schools. So we will mention the